It's Daybreak on the Rise News, and it's time for the press preview. First look at what's on the front pages of the papers. And as usual, we'll start with our sister publication, This Day. All right, on This Day, the front page, it says, Obi kicks as federal government accuses LP presidential, that's Labour Party presidential candidate, and his running mate of treason. It has some riders there. It says, allegation, fictitious, malicious campaign of calumny. Lai Mohammed, Atiku, ex-Anambra governor, have no pathway to the presidency. NCC denies leaking Obi Oyedepo's telephone conversation, recommends two-factor authentication to secure WhatsApp. Let's look at some of the other stories. Trump pleads not guilty to 34 felony counts after arrest with a rider. Manhattan District Attorney says thorough investigation led to former U.S. President's indictment. And Byrne urges Lai Mohammed to curb NBC's excesses. Osibajo raises hope of Africa becoming first truly green civilization. Foreign capital importation declined to $5.32 billion in 2022, $1.006 billion in quarter four. Let's leave that here at this day.
And we'll move over to the Punch. It's leading with the warning from the federal government of Nigeria to Obi and his vice presidential candidate, Dati, in the 2023 elections. It says the risk treason charges. That's the warning from the federal government to those gentlemen. And the writers that followed that headline, Labour Party presidential candidate, deputy calling for insurrection, treasonable. That's Minister Lai Mohammed speaking there. Obi should face the law, says APC. Federal government's allegation reckless, and that's coming from Obi as well as the People's Democratic Party. Reps condemn calls for interim government, ask DSS, that's the secret police in Nigeria, to arrest enemies of democracy. Of course, the pictures making the front page of the Punch this morning, truly historical. Former President of the United States, Donald Trump, in court, flanked by his lawyers there on the left, and on the right, protests on the streets. Nobody is above the law. Well, the headline says protesters, Trump pleads not guilty to criminal charges. Above the nameplate this morning, foreign investors shun Kano, Rivers, Ogun, 24 states in Nigeria. Find out why. Naira crisis, cash circulation low. NLC tells Central Bank of Nigeria. And Nigeria more divided than Civil War era. That's coming from Sanusi. All of this and more in the Punch this morning.
Let's look at the Guardian newspaper. It says, Guardian, let's look at the Nigerian Guardian. It says, FG Obi trade accusations on treason charge. He has some riders. Mohammed, Obi fanning insurrection. Obi himself, demarketing me, not good for Nigeria. Don't misinform international community. LP cautions Mohammed. Reps condemns interim government plot. Task security agencies on vigilance. And just below the picture where you have Obi and the Minister of Information. Nigeria's capital inflow buckles on the rise in risks monetary tightening. And then, of course, that large picture there of Trump, the first American president to be indicted for criminal charges. Test for Nigeria's Themis as Trump faces trial. NATO's border with Russia doubles as Finland joins and Russia explodes. All right, that's the Guardian.
Okay, let's move to the Daily Sun. It's also riding with the federal government and Obi trading words over treason allegations. Lai Mohammed accuses Labour candidate, running mate, of inciting insurrection. Your claims malicious, fictitious, replies Obi, and that's according to the Daily Sun. Other stories here, Shoyinka flags attack on non-indigens in Lagos, faults Dati Ahmed's comments on Tinubu. 10 Senate Southeast, South groups intensify campaign for Kalu Akpabio. Izunaso meets Buhari, says he deserves position as oldest APC senator from Eastern Region. This and many more in the Daily Sun.
All right, let's take you to the international papers, and we're starting with the Financial Times. Financial Times. All right, you see the Trump picture there on the front page. Trump enters not guilty plea to 34 counts on day of drama in New York.
Well, this is one story you'll find on all front pages this morning. Let's go to the eye. It simply says, Trump, the reckoning. What a way to put it.
Yeah, and then the Guardian, just almost the same as the Financial Times. Trump pleads not guilty to 34 charges in hush money case. And TikTok fined £12.7 million for child data law breaches.
I think that's about it. Do we have the Daily Telegraph?
Yeah,
it says Trump on the arrest.
All right, let's bring in Emmanuel Bello on Daybreak to do the paper review. Emmanuel, glad to have you join us this morning. All right, let's start with our sister publication as usual. It says, Obi kicks as the federal government accuses LP presidential candidate running and his running mate of treason. Let me take one or two riders there, and then you can come in. Says allegation, fictitious, malicious campaign of calumny. Lai Mohammed says Atiku, ex-Anambra governor, that's Obi, have no pathway to presidency. I just take those two, and of course the Trump issue, pleading not guilty to 34 felony count charge. Emmanuel, what's your take?
Well, these are big stories, and I think all the newspapers are running. The Nigerian newspapers are all practically running with the Obi dirty federal government debacle and counter accusation, while the foreign papers are running with Trump. But of course, we have the Trump fever too here. We're catching it because our papers too are reporting on Trump. These are big story. One is historic. The other is, of course, the very normal day-to-day kind of grind that you have here for our stories, which is the fact that the federal government, Lai Mohammed, was somewhere accusing Peter Obi of the LP and his running mate of treason. Treason is such a strong word, and because it attracts the capital punishment, the ultimate punishment. So you be careful how you use it. I think Lai Mohammed was a bit loose in the way he used treason to describe something, because you have to have very clear grounds on why you say someone is guilty of treason. Were they planning to overthrow the system? Were they planning to upturn the democracy, truncate it the way we have? Are there clear-cut evidence that they are working towards inciting people to go to the street and all of that? Obi himself came out with a very strong, ironclad defense that, look, he has always insisted that his victory is going to come via the courts and not the streets, and that he has actually told his the obedient people to stay clear of courts, stay clear of the streets. And I think so far the obedient have actually listened to him. So you wonder where all this is coming from. Where is the treason? Who is planning to overthrow governments and all of that? How is it done? Because civilians don't just go take power, take over the seat of government and all of that. So it's a very difficult one. It's just like the charge of interim government. It's difficult to actually place your hand on it. Who is planning this interim government? How is it being planned? Who are the plotters? Have they been identified? Are they going to be arrested? So there's a lot of loose talk out there. So when you talk about treasonable felony and all of that, it's not something that was it was reached at maybe some kind of courtroom or some kind of even legal process of determining who is treasonable, who has committed treason. At this point, you're only latching on to the fact that Obi and Detty are very so strong about saying that they want to reclaim their mandate. But they're saying they want to reclaim their mandate in court. That's what they keep saying. And I wonder how you can place a treason charge on them. But again, it's the federal government. Probably they have their ways of understanding this thing. They are not letting us into their deeper findings. What is there? They can't be crying this foul if they don't know what they are saying. I mean, this is the Minister of Information talking on the world stage that there is cause to worry about treason. So maybe they have to hit us with more evidences or talk to us more and be more transparent in the way they go about it. But for now, the LP is fighting back. I mean, Peter will be saying that I didn't call for that and that it's wrong to say that I am trying to overthrow the system.
And how likely are we to see an arrest? I mean, the reps, that's the lower chamber of the National Assembly in Nigeria, condemned the call for interim government. What started as a rumor, was elevated to front pages and major news streams when the secret police in Nigeria confirmed that there were plots to install an interim government, yet we are yet to see an arrest. Are we likely to see any arrest, Emmanuel Bello? And that's looking at the front page of The Punch. It's one of the stories on the front page of The Punch this morning.
Yeah, that's why what is curious about all of this is that you talk about an interim government, and yesterday, like one of the top guns in the military was saying that you don't just install an interim government. It's not something you do from the comfort of your bedroom. The president will have to buy into it. So President Buhari will have to actually install an interim government if there's going to be one. That is how interim governments are reached. It's not something that you do from the streets or from the comfort of your bedroom or from two plotters discussing it. So, and you're right, yes, if you know the people talking about it, because at this stage, to be able to have an interim government, it has to go beyond the talk stage, where people are maybe just loosely talking about it. It has to go to the implementation stage, where you will need the president himself to announce an interim government. So what are you going to arrest in this? Is it the people you say you found talking about it? Or do they have a clear path? Have they sold the idea to the president? Is the president even buying into the idea? So there's a whole lot there. So when you call for arrest or this one, or we talk about arrest, sometimes it's difficult to know who is to be arrested. But then you're right, the secret police couldn't have come out, so openly, so brazenly with the talk of interim government if there were no people they've identified, or even plots or clear-cut roadmap to how an interim government is going to. So they must have done their homework. So the question to ask, like you're asking, is so what are they doing about it? Everyone has roundly condemned it. Youth groups, socio-cultural groups, politicians, the House of Reps. When everybody said we don't want the interim government, we just want to see either those court process going through or even a swearing in on May 29th. So the question is, who are the plotters? Where are they? Have they been identified? If they've been identified, have they been arrested? Have this been nipped in the bud? Are we done and clear with that? On top of all that, you have this accusation of treason. Kind of make the whole drama more intense at this period.
Well, let's take a look at the point. Excuse me. It says Naira crisis, cash circulation low. That's NLC telling CBN. They wanted to go on a strike before they had to call it off. Then down below the picture where you have Trump, Ramadan, avoid offensive sermons. Ed Sunupe tells critics, and along that line too, Federal crisis deepens. Youths are asking Adebanjo to step down. Emmanuel?
Yeah, it's a lot of stories there that very interesting story. But I think the one that concerns all of us is the cash issue. The fact that those we still can't find the monies that the CBN is saying, look, we've loaded. I think there was a figure the other day that 20 billion naira old currency has been sent to all these banks. But you go there and people are still having difficulties with access and everything. And begs the entire question indeed that, okay, why did we go through all that trouble? Why did we have the currency redesigning and all of that? It didn't even bring the kind of changes that we thought it was going to bring. So people are left with wondering why all that happened. But tells you that it's a problem of leadership and the disconnect that we have in the system. I think Punch touched on the Trump story too, just like everywhere. The Trump thing is this one. Yeah. There's so many things there, so many things to the Trump story. I don't know which of the angles seem more interesting.
So very quickly, because all the foreign papers and the Nigerian papers are carrying a story on Trump this morning. Because we have barely a few minutes to go, I just wanted to draw attention to The Guardian. Then you can speak to that angle, because The Guardian is trying to make a correlation between what's happening in America and the Nigerian judicial system, and it says it's a test for Nigeria's themis as Trump faces trial. When a powerful president of the world is being arrested and arraigned in court, what does that mean? What does that say to the Nigerian judiciary? What's that correlation Guardian is trying to make?
Well, I think Guardian is trying to do some kind of juxtapositioning of two judicial systems, two legal systems, one that is very advanced, the American system, and one that is, of course, courthouse to the powerful out here in the third world.
The Nigerian Guardian.
Yeah, exactly. I'm bringing in the imagery of Themis, the goddess of justice, saying that, look, how much have we done for judiciary here? So yes, as we watch what's happening to Trump, the fact that, historically, the first time that a former president will be dragged to court, minus the handcuffs and all of that, but actually treated like every other person. Alvin Bragg, the district attorney, is judging this, saying this, who is looking at all of this, say that look, no one is above the law, and that's and that's a strong message to to developing countries, third world countries, where some people have access to the judiciary. We are seeing practically, before us that a former president, one of the most powerful men, beyond being former president, Trump is arguably, apart from his celebrity, star, star-like quality and all of that, he's also a very powerful individual, a rich billionaire businessman, but dragged to court and faced with those indictments and all of that. So tells you that elsewhere in the world, the judiciary is truly blind, and that the law is nobody's ass. So that's part of, I think, the attention the Guardian wants to, the correlation or the nexus that the Guardian newspaper wants to actually draw. But then every other paper is looking at this story, and it's a very interesting story. Where is it going? How is it going? What's going to happen next? I think it's huge drama. It's something that has, caught everyone's attention, and so sadly, every other story seems to be relegated to the background, including the fact that the Queen finally is going to be called. She's going to go from the Queen Consort to being the main queen in the foreign papers we're looking at. So, but the big story, everybody's attention is drawn to New York, drawn to what's happening to Trump. I think it's an interesting drama. I think the next thing to ask ourselves is what happens to his presidential ambition. Is this going to rally his base? Is this going to cause him some loss, especially with the electorate? What's going to happen to Trump? I think that's the question so many people are asking now.
We wait and watch and see what happens to Trump. Thank you so much, Emmanuel Bello, there for the press preview. Let's hear your view on all the burning issues. Follow us on Twitter at Arise TV. You can join today's conversation using the hashtag at Arise Daybreak.